In this GlassTrax training video, I'll be covering how to add, edit, and delete or hide customers. So the first thing you're going to want to do is come to the Accounts Receivable section at the top. In the Master Files section of the Accounts Receivable tab, the first button shows Customers, so we'll go ahead and do a click there. Now, if you know the customer that you want to pull in and edit, I'll start with editing, you can go ahead and put in the customer ID. If you don't know it, you can always use the binoculars and you can search by phone number, route that they're on, or really any field here. We'll search through the entire table to find whatever you type there. But since I know this customer ID is ABC, I'm going to type it in, hit enter. And now in order to edit, I need to click the E or hit Control E for edit. And now I'm able to go through the fields as necessary on this screen. Now this edit would be used for updating maybe the customer's name, the branch it's on, any comments or notes, their credit terms, all this information on this screen that you see right here. However, you do not need to hit edit if you are looking to edit a contact or edit an address. To do that, you would come down to contacts if you're editing a contact, and you would either click on one you want to change here and then hit the E button, or add a new one by hitting the N button. If I'm editing an address, I'd click on Addresses. There is no E or N button on this because we have these tabs. If I'm changing the main address, I just can go ahead and make a change or alteration here, or if I'm changing the shipping address, if I'm adding an alternate shipping address, you do it here as well. When you've gone through and you make sure that everything is set correctly, you simply hit the Save button here, and it goes away and you're ready to move on. So that is how you edit a customer. If I'm adding a new customer, you click the N button for new or hit Control N, and you can go ahead and give it a customer ID, a name, and then you really just need to assign it a pay type and a credit hold. So pay type, I always recommend that you do 5, which is credit terms. I'm going to click the binoculars just to show you some other options. The default terms ones are 1 through 5. I've added 6 here. The reason I say always do terms instead of cash is because even if they're a cash customer, you can just make their terms COD. And the reason you might want to do that is because when you create a cash or COD invoice or order, you are unable to invoice until you've told GlassTrax I've received payment. Whereas terms allows you to create an invoice at any point. It just gives you more freedom, it's easier, and it makes things hit your AR transactions table, which is good for you to view and be able to track a little bit easier. Otherwise, we have like a cash receipts table versus an AR transactions table, and it's a little bit harder to mesh those reports in those tables. So I always recommend terms 5, and then if it is really COD, you create a credit term, which is up in here, Accounts Receivable, Master Files, Credit Terms, and you can give them, for example, COD here. Let me find the actual term here. There we go, it's 3. And then down here, this CR hold. Now, if you see here at the bottom, it says A equals always on hold, R equals hold is required, N equals never. So if this is a customer that should never be on hold, you just put an N. If it's a customer that's hold is required, which is the majority of customers, that means if they are late on any invoices or over their credit limit, which you might have assigned here, then that order will go on hold until that customer pays their account down, pays for late invoices, pays their credit limit down. The A means they're always on hold no matter what. They might be a great customer, but you always have to verify. And that way, whenever you put an order, it always goes on hold and always has to be approved by a manager. Other than that, you can come down and fill in your contacts, your addresses, any notes that you might want to do. But that's how you add a new customer. Don't worry about messing with anything over here on the right side. This default pricing information of the V, normal, A, and 1, that's what you're going to want to keep. If you are giving category discounts for inventory categories, you can do that here as well, but most of our customers stick with customer-specific pricing or customer group pricing for items. Now finally, the last thing I'm going to show you is how to delete a customer. Now, let me put a huge disclaimer on this. If you are going to delete a customer, the only really appropriate time to delete a customer is to do that right after you've created them. And the reason being is because if you've got any records tied to this customer ID, so for example, let's say you've got a specific price tied to this customer ID, or maybe an order or an invoice or a packing list that is tied to this customer ID, and you tried to delete it, it's going to give you a pop-up saying this customer cannot be deleted because AR posted transactions in this case, or that's invoices, right, exist for this customer, and you won't be able to delete it. But if it's a new customer and you just made a mistake and you just want to clear it out, you did the wrong ID or something like that, go ahead and do it. You won't get that pop-up. So then the question is, well, how do I get rid of my customers that I no longer do business with or maybe went out of business? And the way that you do that is you pull the customer in and you hit this edit button again. And you come to the hidden field, which is right here, and you just check the box yes, and then hit save. And when you do that, now whenever you do a lookup, it will hide that customer ID throughout all the screens. It will hide them in reports as well as this lookup here when you're trying to put in orders or invoices. So that's how you would quote unquote delete a customer. Really all you're doing is marking them as hidden or inactive in that case. If you ever need to bring them back in and say, oh, I made a mistake, they should be active or not hidden, you just uncheck it and save and they're still in there. This allows you to preserve historical records for maybe customers that you no longer work with or customers that have gone out of business. You can still view their invoices, their orders, and things like that without having to worry about people putting in new orders for the customer or putting in new invoices or new pricing. And that is how you add, edit, and delete or hide a customer in GlassTrax. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out via email to our GlassTraxTech@kssco.com email. We look forward to speaking with you. Thank you.